Good evening, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good evening, Saurabh. Nice to see you online.
Yeah, same here, sir. Thank you so much for joining us today and spending your time with us and talking about your pictures. I'm really grateful to you.
Good. Looking forward to this chat.
Great. So guys, thank you so much for joining today evening. So I would maybe just tell a little bit about sir. So Ashok Viswanathan sir has been photographing since the early 70s, and he started with a Zeiss roll film camera, and then later in 2002 he started with digital with a Olympus D460 1.3 megapixel camera, and his primary interest is black and whites. And in since 2012 he has exhibited in several national and international exhibitions and over 300 acceptances in 37 countries, and he has received several honors, the AFIP, FFIP, AFIAP, and EFIAP, which is, I think, the topmost honor for any photographer would ask for. So please welcome to you, sir. So thank you so much for joining us once again. And
Thank you, sir.
yeah, so please tell us a little bit about your journey of photography so far.
I started a long time ago while I was in school in the early 70s
Okay.
with a Zeiss Ikon Super Ikonta camera using roll film. And a few years later, I progressed to a Nikkormant and a Nikon FM with three lenses, basically the 28, the 50, and the 75 to 150 lens. A little later in 2002, I entered digital with the Nikon D100, which was a 6 megapixel camera, and I built up a system again with three lenses: a 14 millimeter wide angle, a 24 to 85, and an 80 to 200 zoom. The 24-85 is actually quite a good all-round lens. I used it for most of my work. It's all Nikon, and a 6 megapixel is equivalent to about 35 millimeter full frame in terms of quality. At the same time, I also joined the Rolleiflex Society of Madras and started exhibiting my prints nationally and internationally, and won several awards. The first one being the Singapore International. During the film days, I did my own processing and printing. We had a darkroom, and I shot Ilford FP4 or Orvo, and for color slides, Kodak Chrome 2, which was processed in Germany. Looking back, it's quite amazing to think that we actually shot a slide film of 25 ASA and a monochrome film of 80 to 400 ASA. And today we talk of 1600 and 6000 ISO. And the latest cameras are now got speeds going up to 50,000 ISO. So I think the day is not far off when you find that ISO settings will no longer be there on cameras because it will just be taken for granted. So that's the background. So that's how I started, basically with black and white.
Great. So what is your favorite kind of photography that you do, and why?
Well, I mainly shoot portraits, landscapes, seascapes, and travel. Well, the travel is because I had a job where I traveled a lot. Portraits are very interesting as the photographer needs to capture the subject and bring out the mood. Landscapes are a little different. It relies on a strong composition, color, or contrast if they are monochrome. And there's so much to see around the world. And my camera records all the places I've been to. And a more recent interest is street photography, which is basically capturing the street life. And Cartier-Bresson was a master at this. And it's also quite a popular pastime with city photographers in Chennai who are into street photography.
Great. So did you have any formal education in photography?
No, actually my qualifications are in commerce, and I was working as a senior manager in a global shipping company. I'm now retired. But as far as photography is concerned, there's no formal training because in the 70s and early 80s, there was nothing available. So it was much before the days of smartphones and internet. And whatever you learned from magazines and photographer friends. So being a member of the PSM was a great help because you get to see the work of others, meet many photographers, and that's basically how I learned.
Great. So who are the photographers who have influenced you most, and how?
For landscape, undoubtedly it's Ansel Adams. They're probably considered the world's greatest landscape photographer. And his monochrome images of Yosemite are timeless. Others are Richard Avedon, fashion, and documentary and street photography. We have the current people like Steve McCurry, Risa Digati, Katia Bresson. As far as color goes, the pioneers were Ernest Haas, Jay Maisel, Eric Miola, Pete Turner, and Arthur Mayerson. All their images are very strong and intense color. Now in Asia, we have newer photographers like Manuel Librodo in Manila, who's doing some amazing portrait work in color.
Right. So, what software do you use for taking pictures? I mean, for processing.
I was originally using Photoshop, but then I moved to Affinity, which is basically a European software. It's very similar to Photoshop, and it's a one-time license fee, including the upgrades, and it's very nominally priced. And it's powerful. It's very easy to learn, and if you're coming from Photoshop, it looks almost similar in layout. So converting from Photoshop to Affinity is a very easy process. You need a computer basically running 4 GB of RAM. But if you have 8 GB, it runs a whole lot faster. With that, I've also plugged in Nik, which is mainly used for noise reduction and monochrome conversion. And that gives very good black and white results. Recently, Capture One Express has been launched by Phase One, which is a free software for Fuji cameras. And I believe it's also available for Sony. Of course, the paid Pro version has many additional features, but Capture One is powerful in itself for basic editing.
Right. So, is there any feature of Photoshop that you miss when you started using Affinity?
No, not really, because I found Affinity's got everything I require. In fact, there are some features of Affinity which I think even Photoshop doesn't have. But basically, all you require is a raw conversion, color correction, cropping, and layers, and those are the main functions that you use. So I would say you're not really using it to the full extent, but you don't need to.
And what software do you use to organize your pictures? Do you use any softwares?
Well, I use Adobe Bridge. And I may keep my work in folders on external hard disk. So it's quite easy to find.
Right. Great. Okay. So, how do you educate yourself to take better pictures?
Well, basically, I look at the work of others. So that's how it is done. Because look at books, look at online, a lot of tutorials available. Talk to people, see the work of others. And I think that's the best way to learn. Try and see exhibitions. And of course, be a member of a photography club.
Right. Right. So, you have been shooting since the 70s. How was your transition from film to digital? Were you was it very early, or did you wait for some time and then switch to digital?
No, I moved into digital quite easily, actually. There's a steep learning curve because you need to put aside some ideas and get some new ideas. But yeah, it's not that difficult, once you put your mind to it.
What kind of homework do you do when you go out for a shoot?
Not much. I actually look to see information of where I'm going. And that's about it, because I don't want to go with any preconceived ideas. I prefer to walk around and see what's available and take photographs. But I just like to know more about the place I'm going to.
So once you come back from a tour, so what are the factors that help you decide which are the best ones out of that whole lot?
Well, I look at all the images I've shot, and I look for images that interest me. I mean, the kind that make you stop and look, and it could be the light, the color, the composition. And basically, I'm looking for powerful images. These are usually, if you see, the one common thing that goes through all these images: the composition, lighting, and probably good contrast and rich color.
Okay. Great. So, yeah, as you were saying, so you are you a member of any photographic body? So, which are the clubs you are a member of, and what are the advantages of having a membership like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a member of the Photography Society of Madras, and also the Photography Society of India in Bombay, and
Okay.
the Federation of Indian Photography, which is basically the all India body. And additionally, I'm also a member of the Royal Photographic Society in UK.
Okay. Okay. So, what are the advantages of joining a society like that?
I think the thing is that one, you get a lot of exposure in terms of being able to exhibit your work. You also get to meet a lot of people. You can have many of these programs there. They organize outings, lectures, demonstrations. Some of them even have training courses. So it's worth it. It's a good place to meet people and to learn.
Okay, great. And what gear have you been using over the years?
I started mainly with Nikon for a number of years, but in the
Okay.
last 6 or 7 years, I've changed over to Fuji with the
Okay.
Fuji Pro One. Basically, because I found it was far cheaper, smaller, lighter, and it produced as good results as any Nikon or Canon. So I've got a Fuji X Pro One. I've now added a Fuji XC3 and three lenses, which is all zooms, which is basically the 10 to 24, the 18 to 55, and the 50 to 140, 2.8. And these days, actually, the zoom lenses are very, very good. They're as good as fixed focal length lenses. So it works well for me. It covers most of my needs. And additionally, I have a 2x converter, just in case you need a long lens. So that gives me the equivalent of about 450 millimeter full frame. More than sufficient for 99% of the work.
Okay, great. So you have been exhibiting your work nationally and internationally. So please tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, basically, it's now earlier we had to send your prints by post for the national, internationals. It's not only is expensive, involved a lot of packing. Now with digital is very easy. You just need to upload your images, and but the problem is now that the exhibitions get a few thousand entries, and acceptances are normally about 25% of what they receive. So the standards are high, and they're getting higher every day. What I'm finding also is that exhibitions are now relying more on Photoshop. A lot of the images are heavily Photoshopped. So computer skills also count for a lot. But yeah, I mean, you can be a very successful exhibitor if you exhibit regularly, and you'll probably get about 40 to 50% of your images exhibited over a period of time.
So how much do you think is actually the photographer skill, and how much do you think is a editing skill that you require to take make a great picture?
That's a good question. Well, it depends on how good a photographer you are. The better you are, the less editing required, isn't it? So,
okay, that's right.
But I mean, it's always best to sort of do as much as possible in the cameras, particularly in terms of exposure and composition, so that you can utilize the full digital data that you have available. Right. Because the cameras these days most of them are APS-C size, which is the maximum is 24 megapixels. And if you have a full frame high-end camera, you're talking maybe 40 to 60 megapixels. So you don't really want to waste a lot of space. You might as well crop it the best way possible right at the start.
Right. So why did you decide to switch to Fuji from any other camera, from your Nikon previously?
Well, actually, I used a Nikon for I don't know, from the late 70s, I would say. And I switched to Fuji about 6 or 7 years ago, mainly because of size and weight. I also found that Fuji, the product itself is excellent. The cameras are small, so easy to carry around. And the lenses are excellent. In fact, Fuji makes the lenses for Hasselblad. And the Fuji television lenses are world standard. So there's quality there. And Fuji, being in the color film business for years, their files are excellent. The JPEG images that come out of the camera are very, very good. So it requires very little editing,
Great.
I've done magazines with the JPEGs just coming out of the camera, and double page in magazines, and they're excellent.
Wow, great. So so you have got these distinctions like. So please tell us a little bit about this FIP and the FIAP. How does one get these?
Well, to start with, you need a member of the FIP, which is the Federation of Indian Photography. It's
Okay.
headquartered in Patna. The membership fee is very reasonable. So once you're a member, you can start entering exhibitions that are supported or sponsored or recognized by the FIP. So once you do that and start getting acceptances, you need to build up a certain minimum number of acceptances, a minimum number of awards, and certain minimum number of countries in which you have exhibited. And once you do that, you become eligible for the first level of recognition. Then, of course, progress higher. You need more acceptances, more countries until you reach the highest level. It's basically once you do that, you go through the FIP, through the FIAP, which in turn you can apply for distinctions. That is supported by the FIP. So you apply through the FIP once you have all the required number of images, awards, etc. It's a slow process. It takes a lot of time, and it's not easy.
Right. Okay, so you have an interest in the alternative processes from the 1800s and early 1900s. So what is it all about?
Yes. In fact, I make cyanotypes. These are basically blueprints. They're from the mid 1850s. It's quite a basic process. It's one of the processes that started off when photography was invented, and they're quite nice. In fact, I could show you a few, like this one, for example.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a cyanotype. It's on.
Wow.
So you can do quite a few of these. You basically how it works is that you make a large format negative, and then you contact print it onto a art paper or art board. But before you do that, you need to coat the board with chemical and let it dry and expose it to the sun. And you get these beautiful prints, and they last for hundreds of years. Wow. But it's a very uncertain process because no two prints are alike, So each is a print on its own. So that's basically what I've been doing, especially now since we can't go out and at home. But I'm also interested in bromide, which is quite a different process where you use lithographic inks to ink a print, bleaching it. You can make some very, very beautiful pictures with bromide. But the problem is there are only 2 or 3 suppliers in the world today who can give you the brushes required and the ink. So once you can get that, you can start, working on it. But it's very slow, but they're beautiful. They're very, very beautiful prints.
Great. So do you print your images?
No, I used to when I did film actually, but now with an inkjet I don't, because I find that the cost of a high-end inkjet is not justified if you're just going to make a few prints. If you don't use your printer regularly, the ink will clog up and dry. And then it's going to waste a whole lot of ink to get it going again. So I find it much better to go and sit down with a professional printer and you can tell them what you want and print it. Is much more economical. The alternative is for a group of friends to get together and buy a printer. Then it will probably work. But I think otherwise the economics doesn't work.
Right. Great. So what about film photography? You started in the 70s with film. So do you still use film, or do you think it's dead?
Interesting question. Actually, I'm back to film in a small way.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because now that film's available again, it's come back. Ilford in UK is now being taken over by Harman. And they have started producing the Ilford FP4, the PanF, and the HP5. And it's now being available in India at quite a reasonable price. Kodak has also started launching the slide film, which is Ektachrome. And of course, I've not seen it in India as yet. But it's a fun thing to do. I've taken my old Rolleiflex out, which is 67 years old. And now started shooting film again. The only problem I see actually at the moment is the quality of processing of our black and white in India is still not good enough. So that is something that needs to be worked on, I think. But it's a fun thing to do and it's interesting. But you can also get the film, you can scan it and convert it to digital, and then you can sort of process it the way you like.
Okay, great. So you have done considerable published work. So what would you advise to the upcoming photographers who are interested in publishing in print or online?
Well, if you want to do work, published work, either in print or online, first of all, you need to produce some very high quality work. Editors these days get a lot of submissions. They don't have time to sit and look at it in detail. So your images need to have impact to start with. So that, when he looks at the image, he stops and looks a second time. That's the first requirement, I think. Usually, I think another good way is have a look at the magazine or the target website and see what type of images they publish. Try to make sure that what you submit is in line with what they publish. And it helps sometimes, especially with magazines, to add text, because then you make the editor's life much easier. He gets a ready-made article with text and the images. And then I think the chances of success are much better. I have found normally that, you try to get something that is very Indian. And if you're targeting a magazine in Europe or the US, because then it's something of interest to them, something different.
Okay.
It's usually something more in the line of documentary photography, if you can call it that.
Right. So where can we see your published work, sir? Is there any place where you have published them, put them all together?
No, unfortunately, no. Because the places where they've been published, they got their own websites or magazines.
Okay.
But
so
there
what
is
if somebody wants
on my website though, but you can't actually get to see them.
Okay, great. So how do you keep yourself motivated to click after, over the years?
Well, for one thing, I like to look at the work of others. And I like to travel as much as possible and shoot documentary stories, have projects. Recently, at the end of last year, early this year, I was shooting a documentary for Thayam in North Kerala. And it's the second or third visit. And already one article was published in a European magazine and in a US-based magazine, which ran into several pages. So that's a project I've been working on. There's still some work to be done, so hopefully maybe I'll go back there into the year. I like to go to places I've never been and see what's happening there. There are a lot of places in India that could be interesting. The other thing is you look at books. There are a lot of very interesting and I would say excellent books published by well-known photographers. People like Jay Maisel, he published a number of books, but two in particular are very interesting to look at. One is called Light, Gesture and Color. And the other is called It's Not About the F-Stop. And these books are basically not technical books. They are books on vision, how to see light, how to see images. And he sort of explains how he made the images. But these are not books to learn photography in the sense that they're not technical books. They're books on how to see and the kind of work he has produced. Similarly, you have people like Pete Turner. His most famous book is African Images, Cars, Who Did Portraits, and there are a lot of them. These are all established names, but they have fantastic work to show, and it's always a great idea to look at their books. You get a lot of ideas, and it's very interesting to do that.
Right. Great. So what are your future plans with respect to photography?
Keep traveling, I think, and shoot more film, and keep exploring these old processes and try looking at gum bichromate, bromide, the next step. So that should keep you busy for a while. So maybe try and see if I can get some more work published.
Okay, great. So what are your top 5 tips to any aspiring photographer in your journey of photography?
I think the most important thing is, improve your technique. As Cartier-Bresson said, the first 10,000 photographs you take are rubbish. And that's probably true, So the more you take, the better you become. I think that the other thing is that these days digital cameras give excellent results. So you don't need to have the latest and greatest camera. Even if you have a good basic digital camera, you can produce some amazing work. And I would also say that don't go too much by the likes you get on Facebook or Instagram. A lot of people are aiming for likes. So it's nice to be, but I guess it's not worth anything really beyond that. But most important of all, I think, is to find someone who can give you good feedback or on your images or on your work. And of course, look at the work of others. Go to exhibitions. These are the main things that will help anyone become a better photographer.
What do you feel about? See, you have started with film and work with prints, and now we are in the era of Facebook and Instagram. So, how do you feel about this change? So, do you think it is good, or what are your opinion about this?
Yes, it's not a bad thing. I mean, it's a good place for you to exhibit your work and to reach out to more people, and people get recognized. So that way, it's a good base. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So, what are your other interests apart from photography?
Oh, basically, country music, jazz, high-end audio, and of course,
Okay.
some excellent single malt.
Okay. Great. So now I am going to show a video which sir shared with me with featuring his pictures. So this is a 3-minute video which we are going to watch, and then we are going to see his pictures, and he is going to tell us little about how he took them. So I'm just going to share that video. Great. So it was a wonderful show. So with all your pictures. So Yeah, please tell us a little bit about this project that you did.
Oh, this was actually a project a friend of mine wanted to do, and she wanted some photographs for this haiku project. So I said, okay, I
Okay.
could. And we needed some music for this. So
Okay.
Rajesh Chaurasya, and so she asked him, and he kindly agreed to provide the music. So that's
Okay.
what was done, and the design and the production was done in Delhi.
Okay. Great. Great.
Because I think
So,
it's come out pretty well. Quite pleased with it.
yeah, very beautifully done. Yeah, the flute really adds a lot of value to this. Great. So now, shall we go and see your pictures, sir? And maybe you can describe a little bit about how you took them.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
This is
Please
the
tell us
Bombay.
a little bit about.
Yeah. Okay, this is the
Yeah.
Bombay skyline shot from Bandra a couple of years
Okay.
ago. This is
Okay.
a processed in Nik software to bring out the black and white and the sky. So I
Okay.
found Nik gives you these beautiful tones, and you can control the depth and the shadow and the contrast.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
This is
So,
actually from the Bandra ceiling, looking into
okay.
Worli.
Okay. So this was when you were using the newer software or the
Yeah,
Photoshop
it's all affinity. Yeah.
Affinity. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a model photo shoot. It's all the work you see here is all available light. There's no flashes. It's all shot
Okay.
in window light or daylight.
Okay. Oh,
This is a black and white posterization. It's a four-tone posterization. I shot this guy actually in Pushkar. But if
okay.
you had to do something like this in the film days, you would have to create four separate internegatives for different grays and merge them together, which is a very complicated process. But with
Okay.
digital now, you can create this quite easily in your laptop.
Okay.
It's quite a popular technique. It basically you're separating it out into the blacks, whites, and the grays, so you don't have the
Okay.
intermediate range of tones. But they're very effective as a portrait.
Okay. Great.
This is one of these images from my old film days. It's shot in the creek backwaters of Muthukadu, just
Okay.
outside. It's actually shot on 35mm FP4 and scanned.
Great. So beautiful.
This is one of my most probably my most successful image and my first gold medal in Singapore while in school.
Okay.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is actually shot on a Nikon.
Great.
Now this girl's daughter is now modeling for me, so you can imagine
Okay.
how many years ago this must have been taken. You know,
Great. Great. Very nice.
this is a friend of mine whom I shoot once in a while from Bombay. She used to be a model. Now she's I think doing something in the film industry in garments.
Okay.
But
Mm-hmm.
she had dyed her hair blonde, so you
Mm-hmm.
got this beautiful high key effect with the window light.
So all your pictures, you don't use studio lights at all shot in natural light.
Yeah, I don't own a flash.
Okay. Great. Wonderful. I mean, this picture is so beautiful.
All the pictures here are, in fact, all images that have been presented at various shows, and many of them have won awards. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how these were selected. But there are some are a mix of going back to the old film photographs, but the majority are, of course, digital.
Mm-hmm. Great.
This is again shot in Pushkar. Normally, in places like Pushkar, when you're doing street, I prefer to sort of wait around some street corner
Mm-hmm.
for people going past, And after some
Right.
time, people just ignore you or they forget you're even there. So you can start shooting without anyone bothering you. And you will meet
Right.
a lot of interesting people who are walking past. So it's a
Right.
good way I find it's a good way to shoot portraits, outdoor in available light.
Right. So, so you are talking about Pushkar, and I'm sure you have been visiting Pushkar since many years.
Yeah,
So, or
long
many
time.
places in India. So, how do you feel is the change? So now, I mean, it's so different compared to what you saw maybe 20 years back. So, what do you feel about it?
You mean we're talking about Pushkar?
Yeah, Pushkar or any place in that way. I mean, there are so many places which have changed
Yeah.
dramatically.
Pushkar, in fact, has changed dramatically. When I went, there were a lot of camels, and I've been there twice. But these days, I'm told there are not that many camels. There are more of horses and cattle,
Yeah,
and more photographers. So
yeah,
I think Pushkar's heydays are over.
right, right. Beautiful,
This is Jaipur, early morning,
very beautiful.
Jaipur Palace.
Mm.
This is actually a picture I made in UK. This is when you come out of in the tube station in one of the new developments, and you look up, and this is the view you get. It's the HSBC building, and
Okay,
the pattern in the front is actually the glass ceiling. You know.
okay, okay. Beautiful.
This is Alapi in Kerala, early morning.
Mhm.
And if you go out on the water at what, 6 o'clock in the morning, you get these kind of scenes with a rising sun
Mm.
and people going out to fish. And you can make
Right,
these beautiful silhouettes. They look
right.
great both in color and in black and white.
Yeah, beautiful.
This is Oman, a place called Nizwa, which is I
Okay.
don't know, maybe 100 kilometers out of Muscat. I was there
Hmm.
that year or year and a half ago. And it's an
Hmm.
old abandoned fortress, which is now a tourist attraction. But it's got an
Okay.
amazing place because it's got this beautiful architecture and lighting. So
Right.
on one of my trips there, I went around, drove around and had a look at this place and made a few interesting images.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful. So, do you shoot in black and white, or do you prefer to convert it later?
No, I do everything. I convert later because sure I might want to keep it in color or I might want to keep it in black and white. But anyhow, when you're shooting, your sensor is anyway recording it in color.
That's right.
Although you might
Yeah.
set the LCD to show you a black and white image, what's being recorded
Right.
is actually RGB color.
Right. Right.
This is also the Grand Mosque
Mm.
in Oman, Muscat.
Beautiful. So, what is your opinion about having some people in your picture? So, a lot of people say that you should have some people to give add some life to the images. So, I saw in some of your pictures they have people, and like this one, you have a person in the picture, and there are others where you don't have people in your
Yeah,
picture.
because
So,
in the
what is
image,
this?
you're looking at the architecture, the scale, you know,
Okay,
and
right,
sometimes there's nobody there, so whom are you going to ask? But if you can find a person, sometimes when you're doing these kind of shots, they can add scale to the whole thing to show people how
okay,
tall the building is or how tall the
right,
corridor is. But
right. So, given the choice,
it's not always possible. Sometimes you don't find anybody around.
right, but given a choice, you would have somebody there, is it?
Yeah, I would, because if you see this is taken early morning, if you look at the shadows and the highlights, you
Right,
can make out it's early morning, you know.
right, right,
So I don't know. At that time, there was nobody around. So.
right. Great.
Same place, different
Hmm.
composition using the arches.
Right. Beautiful.
This is also the Grand Mosque.
Hmm.
This is an
This is
image
one
I
of the.
made, very, very early images with my Fuji in Calcutta on the Ganges. A very
Okay.
successful image. It won a number of awards and it looks good
Right.
both in color and in black and white. And again, this
This
is
is one.
it's evening picture taken almost at sunset.
Hmm. So this is one of my favorite pictures of yours.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Actually, if you look very closely, you'll see that the middle area has actually got a texture screen on it, and that's what gives it
Right.
that look.
Right. Hmm. Beautiful.
Again, this was taken in Pushkar. I saw this guy there having a cup of
Hmm.
tea.
Hmm.
Just sat down in front of him and clicked a few images. Very colorful looking character.
Right. So do you interact with these people, or you just take a picture and leave the place?
Sometimes
How
I
do
do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just click and walk away.
Okay.
It just depends. There's no hard and fast rule.
Okay. Okay.
Some people don't mind. Some people, object to taking their photographs. So we just have to see how it goes.
Right. Right.
This is actually a HDR done in Pune, Mahabaleshwar Club. HDR is basically you shoot 3 different shots of the same image. One exposes the highlight, the mid-range, and the shadow. And later on, you merge the 3 images in Photoshop or whatever software you're doing, so that you get an extended tonal range. So you notice you get a tremendous amount of detail, especially in the brickwork, and although it's very contrasty with the highlights and the shadows, everything very clearly.
Right. Right. Great.
This again is window light.
It's so beautiful. So this was in a studio, or where was this shot?
Taken on somebody's balcony.
Wow, beautiful.
This is the same lady. This is actually a texture screen, which the pattern is actually the curtains in my apartment. In the morning, when the light comes through the curtain, it gives you these squares and with lights and shadows. So I made a texture screen out of that and then blended it along with the image. So you get a portrait that looks quite different. It's quite unusual, but I think it works quite well with the image like this.
Yes, looks beautiful.
Gorkana jetty. Driving around Karnataka, I saw this jetty there in Gorkana in the evening. Just stopped and shot a couple of frames.
So for a picture like this, how much of processing would you do?
This one,
a
lot actually. This is basically the sky has been darkened, the clouds have been lightened a bit to bring them out.
Okay.
I'm not too sure, but I think there's also a little bit of burning of the corners, so your attention is focused more towards the center. So I don't do too much of processing really. Try and keep it as simple as possible.
Oh, this is so amazing.
This is Kolam, just a few miles outside Chennai. You have some rocks. It's quite a favorite spot for photographers. And, rocks there, and you can go either early morning or evening, and you get very beautiful light. And you can do these slow exposures, with the water moving and the soft effect of the water. And if you're lucky, you might get some good clouds in the sky. So basically, when you shoot image, you use a 10-stop neutral density filter, so you get very slow speeds, anything from quarter second to 10 seconds. Only then you get the movement on the water while everything else is shot.
Beautiful.
Elliott's Beach in Chennai one morning. Went out with another friend to take some photographs, and actually he's busy doing something else. You can see him in the image. These birds flew past, these pigeons. They come in there because somebody feeds them every morning. Hundreds of them come. So they come and get their feed and they fly away. So I found we just took a shot of this.
Beautiful.
This is a dance photo shoot I did in a dance studio in Bombay. It's all shot with available light. I mean, you can see the window, and that's the light from where the light came in, and a couple of reflectors to push the light back. And that's about it.
Great.
Same place. Again, it's all just window light.
Okay. So, what is your opinion about using artificial light?
Well, I have done some studio work, but it takes a lot of practice, and if it's not done properly, it can look very artificial. The idea with your flash is to make it look natural, which is not easy. So it takes a lot of practice. It's much easier to work with daylight, and it's even easier to work with window light. You can see what you're getting.
Right.
Same place. The main problem out here is, which I didn't realize when I started shooting, was that this place is all black. Everything is black inside, and because it's black, the light level is very, very low. So unfortunately, I didn't realize it at that time. But the next time I shoot, I'll pick a dance studio that's got white walls, so it'll be much, much brighter, much easier.
Right.
This is, of course, Kenya, Masai Mara. These guys normally don't like to be photographed, and they want to be paid. So, in fact, the guys will tell you, don't point your camera at locals, because you can get into trouble. But we went to this village where our guide and our driver was also from the same village. And we negotiated for a very, very small fee that I could shoot the entire place. So I did a whole lot. In fact, I did a photo story on that, on the Masai village. And that was published in Europe. And this is one of those images that I converted to black and white.
Okay. Great.
Again, this is Kenya, one of the lakes in Kenya, with this a single tree sticking out of it. This is again shot in the evening.
Beautiful.
Again, there is some amount of post-processing, to bring out the clouds and the sky. And if you look at the color image, it's basically blue. It's a blue sky with a blue water. So I thought the black and white looked better.
Yeah, beautiful.
Chennai, early morning, Mylapore. This is what most people do in the morning, go out to buy groceries and pick up the newspaper. And as you can see, he's very traditionally dressed. So I was shooting him from across the street, but somehow he found out and he sort of looked at me, find out what I'm doing.
Beautiful.
This is again Kolam with a very long exposure. I think it was 9 or 10 seconds. And then it was toned blue. But as you can see, that despite the toning, the white highlights are still there, the rocks are there. And you get that feeling, it's almost like a painting. Yeah?
Right. Beautiful.
Madras University Senate House. They opened it after it was redone for an exhibition. And it was a huge halls and 2 levels with the glass windows. And I think that building is over 100 years old. So it's the first time they're letting people in, So, yeah, so it is a good opportunity to take some photographs of the...
Great. Beautiful.
This is a studio shoot. It was done with a single flash on the left side, bounced off. And as you can see, this is a single light with shadows. And the diagonal composition and the angle of the face is what gives it make it look powerful.
Right. Beautiful.
This is actually shot way back in the 70s. This is actually an actor that came and posed for the Rolleiflex Society of Madras, and with all this makeup. It's shot on film and then processed and then scanned. I took out a lot of old negatives of mine and scanned them. So,
So how often do you go to your old pictures and want to rework on them?
Yeah, actually, I do, because I find that when you look at your old photographs and you rework them, whether it's film or digital, sometimes your ideas change. So you might decide to do it in a different way,
Right.
So quite often you may end up with something much better than what was originally there.
Okay.
But definitely, yeah. I mean, I would think everybody should try it. And not only that, I think nowadays the software is also getting much more powerful, so you can do more things with it than you do 10 years ago.
Right.
This again is film shot on film. This is actually Rajamani, who was the president of the Rolleiflex Society of Madras in the 70s for very many years. And he decided to model with a cap and a beard and everything else. So it's again a shot with the available light. It's shot on a Rolleiflex with a 2.25 square negative. Then I scanned it quite recently.
Great.
This is another portrait made at the same time. Again on film scanned.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
This is from a road trip to Eastern Europe late last year. This is Macedonia, which is about 70 kilometers from the Greek border.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the center of the town where you can only walk around. There are no cars. And this is late evening, and I was walking back, and I saw this kid. He jumped into the fountain to play. So with the slow shutter speed, the water is all blurred.
Mm.
So that's how you get this picture. And with the light coming from the background, it sort of makes the water look good.
Beautiful.
Albania, driving around, I saw this old railway bridge. Just a quick shot. It's a landscape kind of a thing. Basically, it's quite simple. It's just a straightforward shot. The only thing is you process it carefully and you expose it carefully to make sure you don't blow out the highlights in the clouds. Because once you blow out the clouds in the highlight, you can't get it back. So here is a good detail in the sky. You get the clouds which are gray and white, and also the foreground with the grass and the plants. Again, Eastern Europe. This is one of those buildings that's completely black. And it was a rainy day, so all these storm clouds were there behind the building. So I thought it made an interesting picture.
Right, beautiful.
It's a bit of an unusual composition as well,
Right. So what kind of processing do you think you did with this picture?
This one is again processed in Nik. Basically, you get back the highlight shadow and adjust your gray, mid-gray. And I'm not sure, I might have used a red filter on it to darken the sky.
Great.
Again, this is driving on the road, Adriatic coast, going towards Dubrovnik. And I saw this little island sticking out with the houses. But the beauty of this image is actually the clouds. That's what adds a lot to it. So again, you need a little bit of careful exposure and processing to do this. Because as you see, there's not much of blacks in it. It's more all grays, the different shades of gray and whites. But as long as you're careful with the exposure and your processing is good, you can bring out a lot of detail. And actually, if you look at this image on a laptop in color and you blow it up, you can actually look into the guy's house, the house in the forefront with glass. You can actually look into the glass window and see what's happening in the house. The resolution these days on modern cameras is so good that, it's amazing what you can see.
Right.
Again, Eastern Europe. We're having lunch somewhere in this old town square. This lady was sitting there reading some magazine. But it's basically the architecture of the building and the paved flooring that kind of adds to the picture.
Right.
This one is actually Doha. Waiting for a connecting flight, sitting in the lounge for 5 hours, doing nothing. And I saw Doha, the lounge is full of glass and mirrors and stainless steel and lights. Sort of very bright interiors. And I saw this spiral staircase and I thought it might be a very interesting image with all the curves and lights. And so I hung around there, there's a convenient chair nearby. So I sat down there and waiting for somebody to come. And of course, surely being an airport, people go up and down. So that's how it's taken.
Beautiful.
Same place, Doha Airport. I saw this guy with a hat coming and I was hoping he'd climb up the staircase. And sure enough, he did. So I took him just when he was in front of the window so you can get a nice silhouette with the guy with the hat.
Right. Beautiful.
This is a very old film image. This again is and there's 2 kids playing shot on film and fan. Here again, the main thing is that you have to watch the exposures because of the bright highlights. So you don't know the highlights, But otherwise, it's pretty straightforward image.
Right. But beautiful, the lines, these 2 figures look so beautiful.
Same place, same time. This is what it actually looked like, Like in the film days, they say expose for the highlights and develop for the shadows. And this is exactly what you need to do for digital as well. Just make sure you expose properly for the highlights, so you don't burn it out. These kind of images are a little tricky to expose because you don't really know whether the emitter is reading the sky or is reading the bright sun reflecting off the water. So best is to bracket a little bit. This is again taken quite recently at home. That's actually my bedroom window.
Okay.
Beginning the pattern with the sun coming in.
I think it was such a delightful journey to see your pictures. It was so amazing to see all your pictures. So wonderful.
Thank you. And glad you liked it.
And yeah, absolutely. So I think our viewers also liked it a lot. So if you have any questions, please let us know. I'll maybe if you have any questions for sir. So in the meantime, let me ask you this question: what was your most difficult shoot that you have ever done?
Well, all these low light shoots are very difficult because the light is not enough, and you're not going to use flash. Then your technique had better be very good because otherwise you're not going to get any sharp pictures.
Right.
Like the dance shoot, for example, you had to be very careful because everything was black inside. So you had to get the dancers as close to the window as possible and expose properly. And in many of those shots, the shutter speed is like 1/30th of a second. So those kind of things are very tricky. You get to try it before you can get a good picture.
Right. Great.
But
so
we
have a lot of
digital low light is not a problem. I mean, modern sensors are extremely sensitive, so you can push your ISO to 1600, and these days even higher.
Right. Great. So we have a lot of appreciation, lot of comments for you. Maybe I'll quickly go through some of the comments. So Ranjani is saying Ashok's black and white are amazing, and again he pushes himself to excellence. And Jay Manian is saying, so a seasoned self-taught photographer, his passion for photography is tireless. And Vinay sir is saying, good to watch Ashok ji and Saurav together. Great. Krishna is saying, interesting and informative. Yeah. So awesome, Ashok, way to go. So yeah, I think we have really a lot of comments. Okay, so I think we have one question here. Okay, so Ramana sir is asking, how do you scan your films in the digital media? Is there any software to do that?
There are a lot of options. You can buy an expensive scanner. That's not what I do. I have a simple light box. I put the film on the light box, put a sheet of glass on top to flatten it, and use a macro lens on a tripod and photograph the negative. Basically, a camera it's as good as scanning because basically a scanner does the same thing, So you're doing it with a camera instead of a scanner, so it's nothing different about it.
Okay, great. So Sri Vijay is asking how to practice to get command on light.
That's a difficult question to answer. All I can say is you need more practice, and then you get some good images and some bad images and find out why it's bad. Go back and try it again.
Right. Great. So those were the questions we had. And guys, if you want to see Sir's work, this is a link you can read about him, and he has posted some details here. And yeah, please subscribe to our channel because we are going to have a lot more exciting interviews like this. And at last, I would love to thank Sir for joining us today. I'm really grateful to you for spending your time and talking about your pictures. It was really a visual delight to see your pictures, sir. Thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you. Nice talking to you.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Bye-bye.